What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down some very important numbers involving NIO's potential share prices because I do believe that NIO is going to see immense growth as the years go on, as their CEO William Lee Bin has said in the past. I also believe that based off the current trends that we are seeing and the current growth rate, we could calculate where NIO's may end up going in terms of the amount of deliveries we see, and also how this may affect the share price. Now, I do know that there are other factors that affect NIO share price, so this is going to solely be based off the amount of cars that they sell and deliver, and not necessarily based off external factors. All right. So before I break anything down about this, before I talk about why I'm still very bullish for NIO, I got to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 4 days. Check it out before they run out to get your free potential Tesla shares. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. When we look at NIO, guys, there's something very important I want to note. Firstly, when NIO came and ended up going IPO, NIO's share price hit 13 and it ended up declining for a couple of years. As the company was new, EVs are not necessarily the easiest business model out there. And NIO was actually worth about $1 a share back in 2019, approaching the year 2020. NIO actually crashed to about $1. Don't forget that. NIO ended up pushing in January of 2020. Then this thing came tumbling down to about $2 a share. And we are still well above where we essentially were for every single year except for 2020, when this thing had a big run up, and also parts of 2021. But overall, guys, we're not necessarily at the end of the world when we see NIO at these prices. Then NIO had this big rally with the market hitting almost $70 a share. It came close to that. And then we ended up declining since then, as many small caps and mid caps started taking hits in the markets, given everything that was going on. All right. So because of the pandemic, the effects it's had, what small caps are pricing in, shorts, and all these things playing a role together, this did cause NIO to come down. Not to mention the fact that there's been a lot of fear involving lockdowns in China and other factors. I mean, there's so many things going on. But if we assume something big that drives NIO's share price up would be the cars, and we assume that all factors are constant, meaning that geopolitical issues don't get worse. Instead, NIO continues to make good deals and they continue to do business in other continents. And the good thing is they are already are kind of making their bases in European countries. We're seeing them in Norway, we're seeing them in Germany. It's intelligent. They're securing their spots now. They're getting the plane tickets before everyone else does in the EV sector because they know how huge EVs are going to be as the years go on. We're just getting started. All right. So now that NIO is setting up their bases across Europe, they're all over China, and maybe one day they could come to the USA. The bottom line is they're still in the two largest EV markets in the world. That's Europe as a whole and also in China. So that's good. That's incredible for the share price. We have the bases there. And as long as things continue to operate, efficiently, correctly, I believe that this could really help NIO. Now, I don't truly know what other factors will end up playing out in the future, whether it's another recession near the end of this decade, or I don't really know, guys, which is why you need to take these numbers with a grain of salt. But when we look at just their growth from the cars alone, the amount they deliver, and how this can actually affect the share prices, I have some numbers out here to tell you where the share prices may end up going, or at least the bare minimums, in my opinion. Let's start off by talking about something William Lee Bin stated. In the latest NIO earnings report, William Lee Bin mentioned that we should expect. He used the word expect. He didn't say maybe, not that they plan on doing it. They expect 43,000 to 48,000 vehicles delivered for the last quarter of the year, which would be an increase of 71 to 91%. That's insane. So the increased deliveries keeps on happening. That's the first thing to remember. And I'm actually reading this off a filing report, an official document. This is important. So now what's happening is NIO is increasing the rate at which they produce cars. They're following Tesla's footsteps. And as long as they could continue in Tesla's footsteps, they're, in my opinion, going to see the same growth that Tesla saw. Now, being in China, there are all obviously like risks for American investors and so on and so forth. It's a real thing. That's why NIO is listed on many exchanges like the Hong Kong exchange. But the main point I'm making is that we're still seeing consistent growth in deliveries, and I do believe NIO is going to work very hard. Now, when it comes to their growth, you guys can see margins have actually increased a little bit, but overall, we're seeing more and more of these sales every single quarter. And we can also talk about why on earth they do anticipate more and more growth, because they have an amazing CEO. They work very hard. And I really believe that this trajectory is going to continue as time goes on. So they, in my opinion, should be selling over 120,000 cars, maybe even more than that. So I can even make this higher. But just for instance, you could say maybe 140,000 per year. I don't truly know yet for the year, but let's just go with this number. Let's say we get about 140,000 cars sold and delivered for the year, maybe higher. The share price may still hit like $15 for the end of this year. We're only like a month away. We're not that far from it. And it's going to depend on the bull rally and other factors. Just note that the stock market is not going to fully recover this year yet. We may start pushing and start to recover, but it's going to require more time. All right. Now, the thing you have to remember though about NIO is this thing could run when this thing sees a squeeze like events. Remember the all-time high when retail was coming in, when institutions were coming in, when shorts were covering, when they got squeezed. This thing actually hit almost $70, and it's going to break this again one day. I'm 100% confident one day this thing most likely will, as long as all the external factors stay the same, right? Tensions don't get worse, and so on and so forth. But anyways, going into the future, I wouldn't be surprised if NIO surpassed at least 200,000 deliveries, probably even more than this. It could easily hit like 250,000. Well, let's just be more conservative. Their revenue will easily hit very, very high numbers, especially as they have other investments. And we can see them actually hitting profitability. The stock price, in my opinion, it's still not going to have a very extremely perfect recovery yet, because remember 2023 is likely going to show signs of a recession. We're going to enter one most likely. We probably all already are in one, but anyways. And on top of that, you have to remember we're going to see an earnings recession. This means that it's going to get harder for companies because demand is slowing down. When demand slows down in these economies around the world, especially for like cars, it's going to likely hurt NIO's margins. But NIO is not as focused on that. They're focused on producing more cars. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see over 350,000 deliveries by 2024. And remember, we're not that far from 2024. We're almost starting 2023. NIO should see a revenue of around like 20 plus billion, even more profitability, and the share price should easily soar past $90. Like I mentioned, if all the other factors are constant and they are unveiling more models, they're delivering more of them, they're expanding to Europe, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing gets close to $100 a share by then. And if you're buying this thing at like $8, $9, that's going to be a crazy return. But even if I'm overestimating and this thing only goes to like 70, it'll easily, in my opinion, still break past 100 by 2025. And in my opinion, at least 135. And that's because of this right here, the 600,000 plus deliveries plus very high revenue. And I want to see more profitability from the company, which I believe they could do. Earnings per share is very hard to calculate because of the outstanding shares used to calculate it. And also, we don't truly know all the margins and things like that. So, the bigger things would be like revenue and also deliveries. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a huge expansion during these 4 years. So from like 2024 to like 2027. And I wouldn't be surprised if we reach a million deliveries by either 2026 or 2027, hopefully by 2026. And this could actually help the share price approach $200 or get close to it. Right? As you guys can see, the growth is almost exponential like, but eventually it's going to hit a plateau as it keeps growing. This could be kind of similar to Tesla, but the difference is both Tesla and NIO are still not plateauing, just like how like some companies are. They're still in a growth phase. All right. And that's why crazy returns are still very possible. I wouldn't be surprised if we achieve at least 2+ million deliveries by 2027. Share price could hit at least 200 by this time, maybe 255. Very possible, guys. And then for the remainder of the years, I mean, it essentially keeps increasing up until like 400. But I like I said, I can't promise anything, guys. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen during these years, whether we enter another recession or something. But the bottom line is, I'm very, very bullish, guys. And I'm going to make another video about the return investors could make. But let's just talk about one simple thing. You could buy this thing at $9, right? $8 to $9, right? Wherever you bought this thing at. And you have to remember that this thing is still starting, it's still growing. Just think about the future. Think about how this thing has the potential to hit over 100 plus a share, maybe as soon as 2024. Maybe. It still is very possible. The all time high of NIO is almost $70. So you could easily, in my opinion, at least 4x your money over the next year or two. At least. I'm very confident you will be able to do that. Not financial advice, by the way. And I believe that we could see some very, very high numbers. It's just going to require time. I don't want to talk too much about the other end of this because it's very hard, but I'm very bullish, guys. And the thing about NIO, like I was about to say before, there's a risk involved. So you have to know the risk, and that is the fact that it is still a Chinese company, and there are issues around the world that are going on. And it could be kind of tough. But if you're willing to take the risk on just invest some money into it, whether it's a few thousand, whether it's just 10,000, depending on how much money you have to invest with, the return you make as these years go on could be well worth it. Because remember, if you're buying at like $8 or $9, to double the money, it just has to hit 16 or 17. And remember, this thing actually hit. Let me use the daily candles. Yeah, this thing hit in September. Remember September and August, September. This thing was around 23 a share, right? So it's easily going to double it very fast. And I think it'll easily triple and quadruple it over a year or two. Whatever you buy like down here. And it's easily, in my opinion, as more years go on and deliveries keep on increasing, as fundamentals keep improving, they have very good customer service. The real estate investments are going to pay off too for the long term. I'm very bullish. I wouldn't be surprised if people make insane returns because you have to remember, even $20 is a very low value compared to where this thing was back in 2021. And I do believe it's going to get back to these levels hopefully sometime next year. I really believe it could, but it's going to depend on the earnings recession. But I do believe later during next year, as a few months pass, as the market recovers, NIO is going to reach this zone again. 40 plus a share, 30 plus a share. I believe it. It's easily going to make some crazy returns pretty fast. And that's why I'm very bullish. That's why I really believe that it's a big opportunity. But like I said before, there are risks involved. Investing in this, you have to know those risks. So please be very careful. But please note that the potential return from this, the reward, in my opinion, would be worth it as long as things go as planned, which I believe they most likely will. Anyways, that's what I have for this one, guys. I do believe NIO is going to continue to see some very, very good growth. I'm going to break down some more potential ways to make crazy gains on NIO. I'm not going to give financial advice, by the way, but I'm going to make more videos about that maybe for tomorrow in the later videos. Please enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.